The reality is there are a lot of women who spent their 20s and their 30s, sometimes even their 40s, pouring all of their energy into a career, not really cultivating relationships or families or whatever, and they still lost their job and they are still financially unstable. They're looking back and they're like, okay, not only do I not necessarily have the financial security I thought I was gonna have, I also don't have the family. So the economy is really starting to put pressure on women. And over the last few months, I have noticed a trend of women starting to push back against traditional narratives, or really feminist narratives about independence, not needing a man, and really the misandry, the Black misandry or anti-Black misandry that has been cultivated for decades now. I've noticed this. Now, some of you guys call this the case of the reach back, right? We are in the reach back era where you basically have women who are looking to the right and looking to their left, and they are scared and they recognize that they need help. No men are around, and they are reaching back to try to get some man to help her pay her bills because the economy is really hitting ladies hard, particularly Black women. Black women have lost more jobs than any other demographic since the beginning of this year. With that said, I ran across this video of a woman who was just, again, pushing back against the classic hyper-independent narrative, starting to share why she believes this is not only toxic, but it's unrealistic. And I wanted to react to this because I think this video is a microcosm of a larger trend that will likely continue to happen as the economy becomes more and more difficult. Let's check it out.
Don't shoot the messenger. Feminism told y'all be strong, independent, and alone. And y'all followed it to the grave. Y'all pushed all the good men away, called submission slavery, and think being difficult is cute. Now y'all 35 and tired, looking around like, oh, where the good men at? Sis, they moved on. Real men want peace, not problems in a lace front and a loud voice. Feminism sold y'all freedom, but they didn't mention the price. Loneliness.
Okay, I want to react to some of the different points that she says, but I want this to be clear. We now exist in a culture where it is popular, or it's getting more popular, to critique women, particularly Black women. Put another way, we exist in a time where now I'm seeing more Black women criticize other Black women. And that is not something I'm used to seeing. Like, I very much believe that we've existed in a sister code, and women who have stepped outside of that were ostracized. I mean, look at Shahrazad Ali, right? Where she was pushing against feminism back in like the 80s and 90s, and they were just making fun of her. They're characterizing her. They were just, you know, she was kind of like the brunt of the joke in modern media because she was not aligning with like feminism, which was being pushed. But now, fast forward later, and we're seeing all these women say the things that she was saying decades ago. And a big reason is because the economy is really pushing this. Women are starting to recognize they cannot pay their bills. The government is not there to save them. Those programs are being removed, and that is forcing these things to the table. Let's hear what she has to say again.
Don't shoot the messenger. Feminism told y'all be strong, independent, and alone. And y'all followed it to the grave. Y'all pushed all called submission slavery and think being difficult is cute.
Now and it's funny because I'm listening to this. She said, y'all followed that to the grave. And think about it. This is actually what's happening. You have women who actually legitimately, they spent their years, you know, their late teens, you know, early 20s, or really their developmental years, the years where they might be the most likely to find somebody to settle down, to get married, to have kids. And for some reason, women felt like, no, I can't spend that time building a family. I have to focus on a career. As if you can't do both, by the way. Like, also, side note, I want to reiterate that I've always found it strange that women felt like they had to choose between both. Like, you can't have a career and build a family at the same time. Like, to me, I find that incredibly strange. But nevertheless, she is talking about what has gone on for quite some time now. Women basically saying, we don't need a man, we need to focus on our career and basically give our years over to corporate office. And oftentimes our childbearing years are years where we might be building a family, a legacy, or whatever. And now that you see these corporate jobs going away, we see AI completely taking over and making entire industries pretty much null and void. now you have some of these same women who poured all of their energy and all of their life into these careers, who are left without a job and who are left without resources and left without a security net that a family might provide, that a husband might provide, that relationships might give them. And so when she said you followed it to the grave, I think she's just trying to, make a metaphor, but I'm like, I do think that there's some truth to that, because that's actually what's happening. Like, you have women who their career has been blown up in front of them. It's not coming back. And now they're looking for other options.
35 and tired, looking around like, oh, where the good men at? Sis, they moved on.
Real, and you know what is she saying 35 and tired? What she's also not talking about is, yeah, there are some women who they get to a certain age and they have all the money and now they're looking for a man. To a certain extent, that's still best case scenario, because I'm still assuming that a woman put all of her energy into a career and that career was at least able to give her some financial stability. That's best case scenario. The reality is there are a lot of women who spent their 20s and their 30s, sometimes even their 40s, pouring all of their energy into a career, not really cultivating relationships or families or whatever, and they still lost their job and they are still financially unstable. And so they're looking back and they're like, okay, not only do I not necessarily have the financial security I thought I was going to have, I also don't have the family. And so it's like a double whammy to a certain extent. And I think that's also something we have to remember, because there's this misconception that just because a woman didn't get married, didn't have a family, she focused on the career, that she was successful. That is such a small minority of the population. It's not even funny.
Real men want peace, not problems in a lace front and a loud voice. Feminism sold y'all freedom, but they didn't mention the price. Loneliness.
I'm seeing it become more popular for a Black woman to go and basically critique other Black women, which is something that I have not seen before. But as I mentioned, I believe this is because the economy is changing and women's backs are up against the wall. And I think you're going to see a few different things. You're going to see some women double down on their independence, even if that means they have to live alone, even if that means they have to do the van life, even if that means they're kind of, in between struggling, basically. They're going to double down and do the whole independence thing. You are going to have that percentage, but I think you're going to have a large percentage of women who are going to go back and try to now expand their options to Black men, right? They're going to reach back, as some of y'all say, they're going to reach back to Black men. They're going to now reconsider the men or the relationships or the community that they once thought that they didn't need. I think that's going to be a big portion. And this is why I think we're starting to see other women who are starting to push back against the narrative, because the reality is hitting them hard. They're realizing this whole feminism, this whole independence was a sham. I literally can't do these things by myself. I literally need some help. I literally want a man or someone that I can work together with, who can help me or who could just solve these problems or at least something. And they are looking at all the options they have available. Part of that, I think you're having younger generations like Gen Z, who was looking at the mess that it is and being like, just taking notes, being like, I'm not trying to be like my auntie. I'm not trying to be like this one. I'm not trying to be like the generations I see above, who are big mad and broke and got hella kids or no kids at all and are still mad and broke. Like, I don't want to be like them. So let me just do the opposite of what they're doing and see if I'm going to get better results. So I think you're having that too. It's a very, very interesting dynamic. But at the end of the day, I want us to be very clear that what is driving this conversation, or what is driving these conversations, and the trend I see of more Black women talking against other Black women, or specifically against BFF, right? Or Black female foolery. I want to keep it PG. Is the economy and the fact that less ladies are finding it possible to pay their bills and they need help. And they're recognizing that help is likely going to come from the men in their community, because the government is not here to save them. Those programs are going away quick, fast, and in a hurry. And if they can't do it with their community, they're out of luck. Anyways, y'all, that is what I have. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.